There you go. Those little wins equal big wins, and that sound means we need to talk about Game Show Throwdown.
Yes, indeed. I mean, I played 24 hours playing these, but they went the full 25, I tell you what.
Oh, yeah. Well, they played 26.
Yeah, that's right, because it went on so long with the chase in particular, that was great fun to watch on top of that.
Yeah,
My,
also the end game pressure luck when they went to super pressure luck went a bit long as well.
yeah, that's typical, it feels like. And I mean that as a good thing, too. I always like that goes long, but it tends to run long.
Mm-hmm. Even with the truncated question format where it's three questions instead of just four. Combined in-house donations, previous donations, and online donations, over $6,000 raised this time around, and we helped out with that in certain aspects. We'll talk about the meat of the matter for the Throwdown in a bit and the future of the Throwdown. But we both had a hand in helping out the Throwdown in various ways. I was brought on by Travis Griffin and Kimberly Dana Baum to do video editing, like the hype package that you saw on YouTube, or not YouTube, but on their Facebook page and various other pages. I did that one to the tune of Panic at the Disco's Greatest Show remix.
Da, 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
Da, 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 da. Yeah.
Mute when you're on the
This is the greatest
show. Yeah, but that had to be muted when we played it over on Twitch.
Yeah, we had to be careful about that because, I can't imagine the consequences that if the stream got taken down and then the copy. Oh, yeah. But it was such a really good video. If you haven't seen it, because it's still up on Facebook in particular,
Mm-hmm.
give that a look. It's a good way to get you hyped up for watching really any game show.
Mm-hmm.
Because, it's great too because as much as it was designed for the Throwdown, for obvious reasons, it really is a great presentation of what game shows are and what the big moments are like and the natural humanity that comes out of them.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. My pleasure.
Mm-hmm. And now we get to talk about how you beat my ass.
Yeah.
Because on July 20th, me and Jessica played a game of Luck of the Draw, which Tim Connolly, a.k.a. Luguru, does. And what he did, he used that to raise money for our various children's Miracle Network hospitals. Mine was the Seattle Children's Hospital. Yours was, I think, the
Hasbro Children's Hospital of Providence.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you got to enjoy the great rooms that they have. Like, there's rooms based around Operation and Monopoly and Scrabble.
Exactly.
And Picturica, among others.
Yes. I mean, because if you didn't know, like, Hasbro's is quartered right around here, so they're obviously they're big donators because they gave their name to the hospital, but it's a great place for the fun of the kids, so they don't really have to think about what they're going through. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the show started out well. Both of us ended up tied at the end around $550, I think. And then round two happened, and the cards fell in your lap.
Yep. And then I started to count the cards like I would with blackjack. So what I did for that, and
you did more than that. We're going to talk about that.
We're going to talk about this. So I partly counted the cards. So I developed a bracket strategy. If you know me, I love to do my strategies, be it for learning trivia or executing game theory. So I had a sheet up of what relative card outcomes would be for each of the 6 card slots. So you kind of play it like Racco, 2 to an ace basically. Yep. And I figured out of what slot should go in each card given a standardized deck. And if I put that, I would just figure that out that way, and then I matched them up mentally, and then from there I counted the cards like I would with a blackjack deck, relative to the count of the deck, and then I knew what I could expect based upon the relative cards remaining, and relatively to what the placement of the cards would say on top of that. So I combined them, and I was able to run the decks pretty efficiently. And I did that with the end game too, actually. and I talked myself out of a 25,000 or $25 donation win. But I basically game theoried the game just a few minutes before the show because it's a great concept for a game and it's very solvable too. And I thought, well, what if I put my own game theory into action on a game like this? And it was incredible to just see it keep falling like that.
This is something you have to talk to Tim about.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would talk with him. I guess I would just want to do a simulation game with him and discuss about how each one goes into its own bracket. So if you're listening or watching this, I guess, you know how tax brackets work. Like 0 to 9,600 is this, and then 9,600 to 19,800 is this. So we know in each individual bracket, two and I believe it's a quarter. I don't recall it offhand remarkably, but I know it's around two and a quarter suits fall into each one. Because if it's numbered one to six, and I didn't account for the wild card, so my strategy was slightly flawed at the time, admittedly. But based upon standard decks, you want to put two and one quarters cards in the first slot. So that means two, three, and if you've seen somehow three fours, a four, and then you want to copy that times six. And basically, I was able to replicate that and apply basically standard card counting from that point forward. And because of that, it told me what to anticipate next, relatively speaking. And because I could keep mental track of the card counting in my mind, because it was a mono deck, which makes that incredibly easy to do. You can just aggregate. You can just adjust according to it. So if the count is +1, I know I'm going to be expecting relatively lower cards. So I can adjust basically what my bell curve of normative distribution is accordingly to that. Like I compare it to a dromedary camel walking. So you know how a dromedary camel has its humps, right? And the hump in
Yeah.
this case is representative of the bell curve. So if the camel walks backwards, we know we have a positive count because we're going to be expecting to see it shift to the left in terms of what we see of card distribution, where two is on the left hand side because it's the lowest end. And if the camel walks forward, we know on a negative count that we're going to see higher cards going forward. And I was able to mentally calculate my bell curve according to what I had seen at the deck at that point. And it really sounds more complicated than it is. Because if we know what the standard value of each position should be, and we can adjust that according to a count mentally, then we just have to shift it little by little. And eventually, once it gets to be enough cards, you can just memorize what the cards are, and you can adjust your according to them. Because each suit only has four given cards in it, as opposed to like 16 at an actual blackjack table, quarters of intervals are not too hard, or out of 52 to be more precise. That's roughly a little bit less than a 2%. I believe it's 4.8% offhand of how much we have to adjust each curve. That's really not that bad to do that at a time, and especially given the pace of the game too. The game gives you time to think, and if you don't have control, then you can adjust your strategy accordingly to that, because you should certainly be less aggressive because you don't have control, you don't have a pass card at that point. I didn't incorporate that yet, but again, it seems very easy to do because you have a wash card that you can take care of.
Yeah.
But when you can adjust a curve that's a very normative data, it's not that hard to do mentally. And I think anyone could try that strategy. Is it foolproof? No, of course not, because carding cards is not foolproof. It only gives you a roughly 9 to 11% edge on the house in any given hand.
Mm-hmm.
But you'd rather have it than not.
True. By the way, I do have a
And
question for you.
oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
What did you graduate in? What was your major?
All right, so I did French because je parle français aussi, and I did finance. Now, finance, I also learned how to hedge fund there, and I operated some software that requires you to do 19-step equations called the Black-Scholes options pricing model. And you talk about guys like, regardless of what you think about them, like Martin Shkreli. You talk about what the guys and boys in Wall Street are doing. They're doing the same stuff that I was doing, and I was able to basically take advantage of that and look at what my projections relative to my earnings would be on a given stock. So I was guaranteed to make money every time if I picked the right option because it could simulate them something called Black-Scholes Greeks, and each Greek letter is representative of a different element, like theta, delta, and they don't necessarily mean like change or like they don't necessarily mean like frequency, like lambda nu does, frequency and length like lambda nu does, but they mean things like inflation, expected projection, the base value of the stock, the strike price, which is the amount you would get if you would sell it, and so forth. And of course, my father was a statistician. He did work with Netflix, with Yum Brands, with sprint, and I've done some statistics courses, and of course I make my own stats that Major League Baseball uses now. So, I mean, this is just kind of my background and stuff. Not only because I've been good at it, but because I've been trained in it professionally. So,
Absolutely works for me. Not sure if anybody who's listening or watching understood it, but good for that. Good for you.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It's gonna be an educational hour, everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I try to educate folks. Like, I'm not gonna give you the plain, boring, vanilla stuff. I'm gonna give you some pistachios with some caramel swirls in there. No one expects that.
Nobody suspects the Spanish Inquisition. Okay.
Exactly.
Now to the throwdown. The event went off with a couple of hitches.
Yeah.
It was very fun to watch, very fun to see take place.
I stayed up for all 26 hours. I got a little of sleep in between the events on some downtime, but I was a trooper out there. I was nuts.
I couldn't. After Drunken Password, I had to fall asleep.
A full half gallon of Mountain Dew Code Red here. I did it.
You drank a 2-liter of Code Red.
Oh yeah.
Wow. I cut out soda. Otherwise, that's what I would have done. So I was just drinking like green tea and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's helped me lose a few pounds, by the way.
Yeah. There you go.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite moments was the chase.
Yeah, the chase had a few of my friends there. Very glad for Maddie and Pam, especially, and everyone was great to see there. But those two, I was really glad to see succeed the way they did.
Mm-hmm. Was it like grand total $248 off that game to charity alone? Like $124 by Kimberly, who doubled and then redoubled. And then
awesome.
Yep. And then Brad Rutter threw in another $124. I think both of them together just threw in an additional $1, making it even $250.
Yeah.
Also, the greatest question known to man. I'm going to pull this up. The game was remote control.
This Shaggy Dog story of a question, though, I mean, I thought it was never going to end. I mean, I'm like, this is like the whole throwdown right here. Just cancel the rest of the programming. Oh my god. Yeah. It was amazing.
It's just unbelievable. So,
I mean, what hour do you come up with this? Like, how much work do you put into this? Like, that was the most nuts thing I'd ever seen. And yet it was answered very quickly and efficiently, too. Great job, JJ. I know you're out there.
Yep. So,
I mean, I've said this. This is the surreal part of me to the throwdown these days. So back when I started watching these, like, if you notice me in the Twitch chat, I use my real name because I always try to forge connections with folks and become more approachable with it. I didn't know as many people at the time. I didn't recognize people by name, but now it's like I know everybody who's up there, and I'm friends with these folks. I can't even root for anybody because I know all of the contestants at once. Mm-hmm. It's like, wow, how things changed. All right. I mean, it's a great thing too because we know one another, and it's just a smaller world, and we can have those forged bonds. It's remarkable.
Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna read the question. Are you ready? Here was the question that broke the throwdown. 15 points. Will's arrogant cousin Hillary appeared in an episode of NBC's sitcom Blossom. Another episode of Blossom featured Don Novello playing the role of Father Guido Sarducci, and Father Guido Sarducci also popped up on an episode of Married with Children. Stay with me here. David Faustino's character Bud Bundy also popped up on the Fox Network sitcom Parker Lewis Can't Lose. In another episode of Parker Lewis Can't Lose, Parker crosses paths with grown-up Eddie Haskell, who of course we all remember from Leave It to Beaver. His next-door neighbors, June, Wally, and Beaver Cleaver, were all characters in an episode of The Love Boat. Now there's this other episode of The Love Boat where all of Charlie's Angels are on board. In an episode of Charlie's Angels, Dan Tana shows up from Vegas, but it's not important right now. Remember when I said that Parker Lewis had crossed paths with Eddie Haskell? Well, and he also popped up on an episode of Hi Honey, I'm Home. So did Gail Gordon's character, Mr. Moody, who you might remember from The Lucy Show. There's an episode of The Lucy Show where Lucy crosses paths with Private Gomer Pyle, USMC, who of course originally appeared on The Andy Griffith Show, which is a spinoff of Make Room for Daddy. On an episode of Make Room for Daddy, Danny encounters Buddy Sorrell, one of Alan Brady's writers on The Dick Van Dyke Show. Alan Brady later appeared on Mad About You, where Ursula was the twin sister of Phoebe from Friends, and Phoebe's friend Chandler Bing showed up on Caroline in the City, where Caroline draws a popular comic strip that is ran and drawn by Daphne Moon, the caretaker from Dr. Fraser Crane's disabled father, Dr. Crane. He used to hang out at a Boston bar called Cheers, where Norm Griffin, Caroline Clowder, Dr. Aushlander, Dr. Westphall built on the landmark 1988 broadcast. We learned that Dr. Aushlander, Dr. Westphall never existed, and in all that shows I mentioned the question are largely figments of the imagination of Tommy Westphall, who is the only character who demonstrably existed on what beloved medical drama.
I mean, yeah. I mean, where do we start with this? Like there are.
I need a nap after reading that.
There are 419 Tommy Westphall multiverse shows. I'm not going to go through them all, but that question could have been made even longer, which is remarkable if you think about it.
It could have been a whole show.
Oh, it could have been. Oh, it could have been the entire Throwdown. 419 shows.
Yeah.
Like you give me a letter of the alphabet, I can name pretty much any of them that had a crossover. Like even shows on the Disney Channel, the current Disney Channel, have had crossovers with this. I mean, it basically is the Kevin Bacon of TV shows. It's just saying elsewhere was a question elsewhere. What a tremendous job by Adam. Just oh my goodness.
By the way, Aaron Solomon, who played during the Throwdown, who is also the current executive, he was an executive producer of, I forget what he's executive producer for now, I think Pyramid. He goes, confused? You won't be after this episode of Soap.
Yeah. I mean, the quips were great. Like, everyone was really quick on the draw with that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I guess got news. Hang on.
Ooh, we got breaking news.
So, yeah. Buzzr schedules past August 19. One of the sweep airings is going to go to season 4.
Ooh, you know what that means? That's the changeover.
It is, yep. But that's why I thought I'd mention that. That's very interesting. I just got broken. That was not planned.
Link me to that, because I want to see the rest of that schedule to see if anything else happens.
I didn't get the full thing. I was just pinged to that by nice webmaster Carl.
All right. I think I know how to... Oh, wait, I needed that, because that's something we're going to talk about next. But getting back to the Throwdown, this also brings us some sad news. The Throwdown is going on hiatus, which was announced by Travis Griffin at the end of the Throwdown.
Yeah, and I mean, I hate to say it, and everyone does a great job, but when they said one final Throwdown on the page well before this weekend, you kind of felt like something was up. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know the full details of it, but, like, boy, that's specifically ominous.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it comes back past 2021, because it's the best thing. It really is.
Yep.
And I always want to go to one. If it doesn't, I'll go to the one out east around here. But, I mean, it was always a meeting place for a lot of the people. It got the people I got together through Viavow to meet them through my trivia friends, and it's kind of remarkable how this all branched off.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it originally started as home game. It originally started as Home Game Enterprise, where they would do bar stuff and do bar games. Then they decided to do a charity stream where they partnered up. I believe they did partner up with Corey Anatoto, Chris Shakarian, and Bob Haig. They were originally called Game Show Marathon West. They did 3 of those, and they had a falling out. And then the change went from Marathon to Throwdown.
Yeah, and then Corey is, I mean, the question is, what the difference is between the two, and I don't think there is really all that much of one. I mean, and that's a compliment to both programs, too. I don't think really much needs to change about either one in terms of its presentation and how gaming works and so forth.
I don't
But
think so either, but
this is
hopefully
concern.
something fills that second void. But
I don't know. I would like to think that there will be. I'm just not sure who would have the funds for it because the big thing I think when it comes down to it is the solvency of the project. Because as great as it is to have the charity, and I'm glad it's done like that, the charity money is not money that really helps keep the project afloat. It's a noble cause, and I'm glad it's done, but it doesn't really help anybody keep these things going. You still got to rent out the space. You still got to get all the software. You got to get all the people and so forth out there. It's not a cheap enterprise. Like even Trivia Nationals with Dakota last year had some issues about what was going on with there behind the scenes, and that's why it split off in that respect.
yep.
And it's being abridged this year as a result of that. I mean, the solvency of these things. I think that's something that I would change in the future, honestly. And I mean, I don't judge the fact they don't do it, and it's actually amazing that they haven't had to do it. But have two donations, one for the kids and one for making sure the project stays alive. That can't be solely on the runners anymore. It just can't be. I mean, it's great that the community gets this, but there has to be some way to keep it afloat. If it's admission, if it's a donation box, you got to do something. I mean, it's unfortunate it has to come to this, but sometimes the realities of life are not that great.
Okay, getting back to what we were talking about earlier, when it comes to the schedules and what's going to be
Yep.
happening.
Yeah, now those are sure I want to see in the Throwdown. Supermarket sweep. We're going to go to the Walmart Supercenter when it comes back, and we're going to actually do it live. Can we make that happen? That would be freaking amazing. Like,
Who
can you
knows?
imagine the marketing on that? A live supermarket sweep? That would be amazing television.
Yeah.
Well, like they did in the 50s.
When I'm seeing the schedule, Sale of the Century continues to go on into 88. 8/31/98. I'm doing the same date as Supermarket Sweep goes into season 4. They go on to 8/31/1988, which I believe is end of summer bash week, which is another teen tournament, teen week. Temptation is almost going on to 2008 episodes, which is insane to me. Aside from that, nothing else changes. Which is interesting to me because they should be getting on, probably later on, they'll do new episodes of What's My Line and To Tell the Truth and Password. Let me check a week later. No, okay. So yeah, that is the latest full week. I'm checking weekends and see if there's anything changed. Now you see it's still there, and I doubt that will ever move. No, nothing changes. So yeah, that is the big thing for Pressure Luck. But I mean, for you know what I mean, for Supermarket Sweep. Yeah, you gotta love the breaking news.
Exactly. Again, I talk about spontaneity of, I think, one of my favorite parts of game shows, possibly even more than the winning. I mean, when it happens here, it's great.
Yep. So let's just hope the Throwdown comes back because I want to go to one. You want to go to one. Hopefully, it comes back in 2021.
Yeah, unless
Who
they get
knows?
like a giant donation. Like, if I get some of the positions I'm trying to get at ESPN, I will do my darndest to give a good chunk of change to that to see that get off the
Yep.
ground.
But I also know a lot of the boys, some of the main movers and shakers of that, have a lot of work coming up, especially Travis Griffin, who, while during the Throwdown, is also working on Punchline.
Oh,
And that is current. they take day of. So it's just a headache to just trying to match that, and God bless him for doing that.
Yeah, that is wild. Impressive too. Like, my goodness, how these folks did all this.
Mm-hmm.
Between that and some of the trolls that the caddies want to get every single time, multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of work. Be it operating the games, playing the games, because honestly, those games will take a lot out of you. As fun as they are, and honestly, on the chat side of things, trying to get things back to order, and honestly, playing them at home too. I love doing that.